What's your thing when you hear Black History Month? What springs to mind for you?
There's so many things, but to me, it's a time to celebrate what we've gone through and where we are now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Being a man of colour, sometimes you only look at the colour, but being able to represent myself, my country, and my background, it's something I'll always be proud of.
Me and you've always discussed Black History Month. It's funny because you said the other day, I asked you who's your biggest hero, and I expected so many different answers, and you said Rod Hillett.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be the answer, I think, for a lot of Chelsea fans of a particular generation.
Yeah.
Like Rod Hillett signed for Chelsea and certainly changed the shape of the club. Rod Hillett then led the club to the FA Cup, the first trophy that Chelsea had won for 26 years. He became the first black man to manage a team to an FA Cup. So yeah, his status among Chelsea fans, particularly Chelsea fans of a certain age, will forever be, the very top tier.
You're in a sport, Ben, where the majority of the superstars from the sport are black. When you think of sort of the big names, sort of going way back, Sugar Ray Robinson, Muhammad Ali, Jack Johnsons, etc., to now, when you think of some of the biggest names as well, like the Anthony Joshuas, yourself, hopefully in a few years' time. Did you ever experience any sort of racism coming up from where you came from, getting into the sport?
Where are you from, Ben?
I'm from Wolverhampton, but my dad's background is Jamaican. I'm Jamaican as well. But to be fair, there's racism in all walks of life, You can get profiled, just be like wearing a tracksuit, a cap, things like that. But I always used to feel a bit out of place when I was going to the GB trials because I was the only coloured kid there. And I didn't really see no one like myself. No one really spoke like me, listened to the same music. What my dad used to say is, forget the colour, forget anything like that. Let your skill and ability speak for itself, and that's what I used to do. My mum always said, just be yourself, embrace your colour, embrace who you are, and so did my dad. And when I used to go to the GB, I used to turn up with a speaker, play my songs, and do stuff like that. I'll just be myself, and it paid off. So,
was it generally welcoming?
It was welcoming, but it was daunting as well. I used to go out there when I was 15, 14, stuff like that, and see nobody like yourself, not even a coach with the same colour. It was a bit weird, especially coming back from a local area where everyone kind of looks like me, talks like me.
I'm surprised by that because I thought that boxing, particularly if you were to say any sport in this country that would be incredibly open and receptive to the idea of black heroes, it'd be boxing. I'm surprised that it was
weird. Like, luckily enough, if you look at the Team GB squad that went to the recent Olympics, so many of us, there's Chevron Clark, Fraser, Caroline Dubois, the list goes on. But when I first went up there, it was just myself, I was a lone warrior. But it was good because I felt like I was representing myself and people from my area as well.
It's interesting because Amir Khan always speaks to that as well. Amir Khan, obviously, the Asian boxer, always should talk about when he used to go up, and you can imagine if there's less blacks, there's going to be hardly no Asians, and he used to have that fight as well where people had to accept him and his style and his sort of creativity.
Sometimes you felt like you had to change a little bit, I used to talk a bit different. Like, I've always had manners, so I know how to do my manners, but I'd just kind of push the manners a bit. It would please and thank you before and after everything, But eventually, like I said, when I got comfortable, I come out my shell a bit and I just became the Ben I am now.
Would you say there were any barriers at first because of your colour? Was because I always look at sport, and when I think of sport, I always think of your talent will overcome any barriers because you're talented.
Meritocracy. Sport should be at least the meritocracy.
That's what my dad said. You said your skill will always overcome it, but sometimes I didn't get picked for certain things when I knew I should have. Sometimes if something did happen, they'd look at me like I've done something when I'm just playing my PlayStation. But at the end of the day, your skill, your manners, attitude, that will always overcome it.
There's a lot of black footballers, and for them to go from footballers to management, there's been that barrier. And I follow that with boxing more so, right? With boxing, there's loads of black boxers. Again, we can reel off some of the biggest names in history, but for them to become managers, trainers, promoters, it's quite difficult. You must have seen that as well.
100%. Like I said, once again, going back to the Team GB, it would have been good to have like a bit of a coloured coach because you'd feel a bit home. It's like a father figure. There was nobody there, and I'd ask some of the coaches around my area. It was quite good. I'd say, come, you've not gone up there. So we've sent CVs, applications, but we never hear anything back. It's if you know somebody, and it's a bit of a shame, but sometimes it's the way the world works, really.
Is it still the way now?
Yeah, even now there's nobody up there, do you know what I mean? It would have been great for some of the up-and-coming coloured lads to have somebody up there, and it's just the way it is, sadly.
See, the thing with football, though, is that there's at least been a push for it. Like, there's conversations.
Yeah.
We hear it. There's conversations about it, and it's spoken about, so people know it's happening, and almost because of that, you're seeing, we're seeing it now. Vieira's got a good job. We're seeing people get jobs. in boxing, it's hardly a conversation.
It's not a
It's
conversation.
not even a conversation. No one even
Maybe
talks
that's
about
the
it.
sport we're in. You know, we're a bit too manly sometimes. We just get on with it. That's it. But I think people like myself and higher ups should probably talk about it more.
Isn't it? Doesn't it not feel good that you are in a sport where, again, we spoke about this, it is a meritocracy. So look, if you're good enough, which you clearly are, sort of your colour isn't going to be sort of the drawback here. You're going to be able to break through those barriers and go on to become whoever you want to become.
100%. When you look at the football stuff like that, you've always got someone dictating your position, if that makes sense. You go through all these academies and things like that. There could probably be the best kid there, because if they don't fit the right profile, they'll pick somebody else. And it's not fair where boxing, you've got the job to knock them out. Do you know what I mean? No one can stand in front of you. You can actually do what you've got to do in the ring. And that's what I liked about the sport. Even now, me being the way I am, I come across as arrogant, but then if a Tyson Fury or Conor McGregor's doing it, he's classed as a legend. So
that's interesting, isn't it? And that is true, isn't it? Because when Conor was doing, as he still does, everything flashy, because Clarissa done something similar on the weekend, and she came across as arrogant and rude.
The list goes on, but then like exactly as the same as a Floyd Mayweather, he used to talk his talk, at the way he used to act. Oh, he's disrespectful, he's this and that. Then Tyson Fury can come out and do the same.
And it's funny.
Oh, he's a legend.
I love it from everyone, particularly in that industry, particularly in the world of being a fighter. I like the arrogance. I think it's necessary. I think it's a prerequisite to be successful in it as well. But I just have so much respect for that hustle, because you're getting in the ring.
It's definitely perceived differently. Yeah, it's definitely perceived 100%. Differently.
What do you think when McGregor is flash compared to, say, when Chris Eubank used to be flash?
The disrespect Floyd used to get was ridiculous. He was my favourite boxer as a kid. I used to watch him. Where he's come from and what he's done, I think he should talk. You know what I mean? He can talk what he wants to talk, because he's come from nothing. But then you got Conor on the other end, talking about countries, this, that, and people's backgrounds, and people laugh.
Yeah.
So but he's only selling the fight. So well, you know. But
do you feel like, and I feel I know the answer to this anyway, but do you feel like you have to be careful that people don't sort of paint you like that as well?
You know what? They can paint me the way they want. I don't really. I'll say what I want to say.